Yesterday, we had the shocking news that a protesting student in KwaZulu-Natal was shot and killed on campus, but this didn't start yesterday. And I want to take you back to 2015, to the Fees Must Fall protests.
There's a positive process, but it felt like they were businessmen or
Violent protests broke out after a fees increase announcement for tuition in 2016. The University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg lit up in fury. It soon spread like wildfire to universities and techs across the country. The then President, Jacob Zuma, proclaimed that there will be no fee increases for 2016. Then in 2017, while trying to win votes at the ANC elective conference, President Zuma made a wild proclamation: free tuition. Having amended the definition of poor and working class students, these are his words, government will now introduce fully subsidised free higher education and training for poor and working class South Africans. Undergraduate students starting in 2018 with students in their first year of study at our public universities. Students categorised as poor and working class under the new definition will be funded and supported through government grants, not loans. That obviously didn't happen. In fact, nothing has changed. Come the start of 2019, and chaos is erupting again at our higher institutions. At Wits University, students have embarked on a hunger strike in protest against insufficient accommodation and the exclusion of students with historical debt. At Durban University of Technology and other institutions across KwaZulu-Natal, students are demanding financial aid, accommodation and transport. And today, University of Johannesburg student was hit in the head with a rock during violent clashes with police. I'm joined now by Buti Manamela, the Deputy Minister of Higher Education, from our Cape Town studio. It's very good to have you with us. It's not a good scenario, is it, what's happening to our students at universities? What's going wrong here?
I think firstly we'd like to send our condolences to the student who passed on, who was shot yesterday at the Durban University of Technology. We, have engaged with the university. They've committed that they will, from now henceforth, exercise caution in terms of dealing with protesting students. And we really want to encourage all our vice-chancellors and management in institutions not to use violence when dealing with protesting students, but also want to call on students to, exercise restraint as it comes to protest. But secondly, I want to indicate that there has been extreme changes since the Fees Must Fall protest in 2016. Firstly, all the students who are new, whose parents' joint income is below 350,000, are eligible for funding by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. Last year alone, more than 650,000 students were funded by the NSFAS. And this year, we're expecting that figure to go on up to 750,000.
Okay, certainly there have been achievements, but let me just jump in here. I mean, what we're seeing are students being shot dead using live ammunition. At Wits, we're seeing students sleeping rough because there's no accommodation. I mean, how is that possible? I mean, how can you promise somebody a place when there is no accommodation? Who's responsible for this?
Well, look, I mean, there's generally a challenge around accommodation in all our institutions. Our department, working together with institutions for the last 3 years, have been investing a lot of resources. More than 20,000 beds have actually been built. And I think that this is one of the issues that, we believe all institutions, student organizations, and everyone will have to, focus. So there's generally...
I mean, you would think that, excuse me interrupting again, that these sort of issues should be sorted out before the students even go onto campus, or just say, no, we don't have space for you, you're going to have to start next year, because, the result is that we've got these demonstrations,
no, but the reality
and nobody's studying.
The reality is that as the situation stands, there is no institution which has been able to, or which will be able to accommodate all the students that enroll in those institutions. And some of the institutions, have made means within which they are able to accommodate as many students as possible. But we believe that through the resources that we've invested, close to 12 billion rands which have gone towards infrastructure, and most of this trying to focus on the maintenance of old infrastructure and the building of new accommodation, we believe that gradually we will resolve the challenge that many of our universities are facing. And also through the initiative that some of the institutions have come up with, we believe that they will be able to deal with this situation. We have received reports from the University of Witwatersrand and a commitment that the university is committed to deal with that particular situation. And we hope that by the end of this week, the situation will have calmed down.
Buti Manamela, thank you very much for talking to us, and we'd like to catch up with you a little later on in the next coming days to find out what the situation is then. Now, to get more insight into this, I'm joined by the CEO of Universities South Africa, Ahmed Bauer, and from our Durban studio is our reporter, Sipamantla Gorge. Let me start off with you, Sipamantla. What is the feeling there after the fatal shooting of a student, and what is it that students want now?
Issues are the same across the country. What students want in Johannesburg is what they want in Durban. They are saying basically they will continue with their protest up until the management at DUT in particular comes down and then meets their demands. Basically, it's got to do with student financial aid scheme, the issue of accommodation, the issue of registration. But the mood and the situation is tense currently at DUT. You would recall that students had promised that they will regroup later today because they are saying one of their own was brutally killed and they are not happy with that. So the police and private security are keeping a close eye on the developments at DUT because the situation started on Monday. Things got worse on Monday, but it was at Westville campus of the University of KwaZulu-Natal and the Mangosuthu University of Technology. DUT was peaceful on Monday. I did go there to cover the story, but things escalated yesterday when a student was shot and killed, allegedly by a security guard.
Okay, Ahmed Bauer, I mean, here we go again, right? Back on the streets, nobody's happy, we are failing.
No, I think we have to just have a certain level of perspective. I mean, first of all, the bursary system, the new bursary system is functioning. First years and second years who qualify for the new bursary system are properly catered for, if you like. The problem, of course, is that the bursary system that has been introduced doesn't cater for what we call the missing middle. So students whose family incomes are above 350,000 a year and up to, say, 600 or 700,000 a year, those students aren't catered for. And that's a really big challenge because this, for many of those families, the possibility of paying off their debts and paying the fees for the new academic year and so on, it may not be possible. And that's the big challenge that we have now. For those students who qualify for the financial aid, the new financial aid system, for them it's an absolutely fantastic opportunity, in fact.
Okay, so I mean, I think sadly we have to focus on what's going wrong here because what happens now is that detracts from the studying and nobody's studying, so we've got to deal with this now. Yeah. So how do we deal with that? I mean, whose responsibility is it?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very big challenge, and the universities just don't have the resources to take on the burden of the debt and the payment of fees for the 2019 academic year for 40% of the students in the system in that category, if you like. So it's going to have to be some sort of agreement, some sort of negotiation between the universities and the government and so on. There's no possibility of the universities themselves carrying this burden.
Let me quickly bring in Sipamantla. I mean, what's the conversation there between government and the students, and do they feel that their fears have been addressed, that something is going to be done to make their lives easier?
What I've picked up is that there is a lot of mistrust between the government, the students, as well as management of various tertiary institutions, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal. Earlier on, I attended a press briefing by the DUT SRC, which is led by the EFF Student Command. I asked them whether they feel that there is space for dialogue. Are they negotiating in good faith? Basically, the students are saying they do not trust the management, and the management is saying, yes, we have made some of the mistakes, but come, let us engage, let us negotiate. It seems as if there is too much mistrust in between. According to the statement that was issued by the Minister of Higher Education, she did call for calm, saying all stakeholders and all structures must come to the table and discuss these issues. But
okay,
the problem that
I'm going to
in
jump
South
in here.
Africa is that
I'm going to jump in here and bring it in Ahmed. Sorry about that. Jacob Zuma, when he made that promise of free education, I mean, did your heart sink? Did you?
Well, we knew that there was going to be this big challenge of students whose families earn above the 350,000 cutoff, if you like, and that this was going to come back, in fact, to bite us. But on the other hand, I mean, for those students that qualify for the financial aid, new financial aid provisions, for them it's an absolutely fantastic opportunity. So, so clearly it works for certain students and not for others. And it's quite clear that we need to think about some new approach for that category of students. The upper 20%, of course, you know, for all intents and purposes, will be able to afford the higher education system. But for that missing middle, there's a very big challenge.
Okay, obviously something's got to be done about it now. Thank you very much, Sipho Mandla from our Durban office, and Ahmed Bawa, thank you. Coming up, all your international news, and then we test President Ramaphosa's economic promises ahead of his State of the Nation address.